الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue this great treatise by the great Imam al-Hafiz Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, the one who died 856 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The time now is currently 7:49 p.m. Saturday, February 17th, 2024, which agrees on the Islamic calendar, was currently the 8th of Sha'ban. Technically, it is Laylat al-Ahad or Masa al-Ahad. It is Sunday evening, of course, according to the Islamic calendar. The year 1445 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. As we continue, or rather we finalize the explanation of the hadith, as we will find that last class we started in the types of marriages that are not permissible in Islam. You'll find that the great Imam al-Hafiz Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, even though he didn't put a heading here, but he was explaining some of the forbidden or impermissible marriages in Islam for the reasons why. For example, to protect women's rights and to make sure that they're not taken advantage of by predators, so they do not become prey for those who want to take advantage of them. So based upon that, you'll find that we mentioned a heading pertaining to what? Al-Ankiha al-Muharrama Shar'an, the impermissible types of marriages Islamically, or in the Shar', meaning in the Kitab and Sunnah. We said from those marriages that are unlawful or forbidden in Islam was called Nikah al-Shighar, as we said. As we mentioned the hadith and we explained it, Naha Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam an al-Shighar, والشغار أن يزوج الرجل ابنته على أن يزوجه الآخر ابنته وليس بينهما صداق. We already mentioned this. We said the hadith, of course, is al-Bukhari, Muslim, the exact same love, which we know as muttafaqun alayh. It is agreed upon. So the authenticity is what? Established. We said the details about this hadith last class. We explained it in detail. So I think we have to now repeat some of the affairs we mentioned, or the details that we covered. Let's move on. The next hadith, everyone, if everyone looks in their book, عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أن جارية بكرا أتت النبي صلوات الله عليه وسلامه وبركاته فذكرت أن أباها زوجها وهي كارهة فخيرها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رواه أحمد وأبو داود وابن ماجه وأعل بالإرسال. But the hadith, of course, is still established in its authenticity, even though the chain here has some irsal in it. We'll explain the meaning of irsal later, inshallah. طيب. This narration upon Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that there was a jariyah, and we'll explain the word jariyah, what it means, and that she was a virgin. She was a virgin. She came to the Messenger of Allah and mentioned that her father married her, and she detested that. Meaning, of course, that's not a marriage she was interested in with that particular individual. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ upon that gave her the choice. فَخَيَّرَهَا. The Messenger of Allah gave her the alternative to either continue the marriage, or to or to stop it, or have it nullified. So you'll find in Islam, this is another text and another clear proof, everyone, that Islam does not force women or coerce them into marriages or arrange marriages where the woman now is forced to marry a certain individual without her having a choice. You see, this narration here refutes all of those different types of rumors, or the different types of stereotypes and all those other different types of affairs you'll find that are spread upon Islam to say that Islam forces women and that Islam is just a chauvinistic or male chauvinistic religion, and the men control, of course, all the decisions a woman makes, and she has no choice in anything, even in her relationships, and all the marriages are arranged, and she has to marry certain individuals, and that if she doesn't, then the family will outcast her, or they will what? Expel her from the family, to the end of what you hear of the rumors that they say about Islam. You'll find that this narration clearly clarifies that matter. It puts it in its proper perspective that what everyone, that the woman has or hers that the woman has a what? Choice in who she wants to what? Marry. Or you'll find, as it says, her own father had arranged it and married her off to someone who she was not interested in. She did not desire him. And she came to the Messenger of Allah, and like we said, she complained, and the Messenger of Allah gave her the alternative to what? To either continue the marriage contract or to what? To say, I want to discontinue it and have it what? Nullified. Right, so that's what we wanted to mention this hadith here. So, we said that the word al-Jariyah, so let's break down the explanation of this narration. The word al-Jariyah تطلق على الأنثى الصغيرة. Al-Jariyah, it could be used for what we want, a young lady or young female. A young female. Al-Untha al-Saghira, a young female. وتطلق على الأمة المملوكة. It also could be used for a concubine. It could be used for a concubine, being a female slave. وتطلق على الأمة المملوكة. It could be used for a concubine, a female slave. وتطلق على مجرد الأنثى. And it can also be used for a mere what? Female, whether she be young or what? Fully grown. So it can be used for those different itlaqat, those different usages. بحسب السياق, according to the context, as we mentioned. However, you'll find in most cases that the word jariyah or jawari, the word, that's the plural form of jariyah. The plural form is what? Jawari. In most cases you'll find, or in a lot of cases rather, the word al-jawari means an-nisa sighar, means young what? Women. Means young women. Right, so that's the first affair that we wanted to mention in regards to explaining this narration. Right, so it says that this young lady or this young female came to the Messenger of Allah, and you'll find this عطف البيان يبين أن هذه الجارية بكرة ليست ثيبة. You'll find that now when the word jariya was used, here what they call عطف البيان, in the linguistic aspect of it, is clarifying her state, which is what? She was a virgin. She was a bikr. As we know, the word bikr means what? Virgin. The word thayyib means a woman that was what? As we said last class, thayyib is a woman that has experienced intimacy before. A woman that's experienced what? Intimacy. Whether in a marriage or outside of the marriage, a person would say, why would you say that? We already talked about that. The person might not have been Muslim, or they might not have been practicing, and they might have experienced what? Intimacy. That, regardless of the fact, and we're not looking at the aspect of whether or not it's legitimate or not, that's not the affair. The affair is what? She's still considered a thayyib, a woman that experienced what? Intimacy, sexual intimacy before. Right, so it says that what? She was a bikr. She was a bikr. So it says, she came to the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wassalam, and what? زَوَّجَهَا أَبُوهَا. Her father married her off me. And she detested that affair, or detested that situation. So, she disliked it. She was not pleased with the marriage. Upon that, the Messenger of Allah did what everyone? خَيَّرَهَا. Gave her the choice. To either remain with her husband, or to have the what? To have the marriage nullified. Have it fasakh. Meaning, have a marital dissolvement or what? Cancellation of the marriage contract. So, we know her father was her wali. Her father was a wali. Based upon that, in this regard, what do we say? We said in the previous narrations that we covered, if you look, everyone, what did we say last class? Not in the narration about shigar. However, we said the hadith of Abu Hurairah, for example, لا تنكح الأيم حتى تستأمر ولا تنكح البكر حتى تستأذن. We talked about this last class. That the ayyim, we talked about the meaning of the word ayyim. It means a woman that was previously married also, until she's consulted or is sought from her that command, that she agrees. Also, the virgin is not married off until what? It is sought from her that permission. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ clearly mentioned that she is to be consulted and the affair is to be discussed. But the woman, of course, it is clarified and the decision what? Returns to her. And they asked the Messenger of Allah, how will her what? Permission be? He said that she will remain quiet. In the previous narration that we what? Explained, right everyone? And upon Ibn Abbas, as we said, in that same or similar to those narrations, he said that الثيب أحق بنفسها من وليها والبكر تستأمر وإذنها سكوتها. As we said last class. The thayyib is more deserving of herself than her wali. We talked and explained that meaning. Right, everyone? And the virgin is to be consulted with and sought from her that command. And her permission is her what? Her silence. As it says in the hadith. Right, everyone? So these narrations clearly establish what? It establishes that the woman or the female in Islam, that she has the choice to remain in a marriage that she desires. And that she's not to be what? Married off to someone who she dislikes or she detests and dislikes the situation. And that she what? Of course, based upon this narration, her father married her off without her what? Her having the choice. So that's what you want to call it, a coerced marriage. That she was put in a situation where she did not like it. So that particular type of marriage in Islam, like we said, is rejected. To the point, as we said, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ gave her the choice. طيب. A person might say, is this marriage valid? And we'll talk about the details of that. We'll talk about it in a second, inshallah. You'll find from this narration, there are certain benefits that we wanted to what? Extract. You'll find in this narration, what did the female do? She complained about her what? Father. Her own father. So a person needs to what? Look at that. So you'll find that certain people will say, that's your father. Don't what? Don't say anything. That's your father. But if the person is being oppressed, and she's now in a situation where she has to live and coexist with someone who she doesn't like, that's something serious. A person does not want to coexist in a place where they dislike the person or they're not interested at all. And that's a situation, like we said, is serious, where a person now is sacrificing their happiness in order to what? Please their father. That affair is not what? That's not good at all. So a person now is put in a position or situation where they have to live the rest of their life for a person at the time or at the expense of sacrificing their happiness. And that affair is not what, like we said, just. Based upon that, the female what? Complained about her father. Complained. However, the type of complaint that was done, or the shakwa here, was done in a way where someone could do about it. Meaning someone could what? Step in and conduct in the matter to have the problem resolved. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? So she didn't backbite her father. Oh, my father this, my father that. She went to the sources that could conduct in the matter where it could be what? Resolved. Based upon that, what do we say? What do we say in this instance? What do we take from that? You'll find the Ahl Ilm that they say, based upon this hadith, if these type of serious situations, and this is to now clarify that Islam is what? Perfect. To let you know that these narrations are clarify how Islam in every aspect of life, especially the most serious of them, which is marriage and starting families, allows the courts and those who are in authority to now what? to now conduct the important matters that need to be resolved. So based upon that, you'll find we know that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith, he was a what? He was the ruler. He was the ruler. He was the leader. He was the hakim. Or he was the sultan. He was the authorities. He says, you'll find that al-imrisa يجوز الإنسان يشكو والده عند القاضي في الحقوق الخاصة. It's permissible to complain, of course, or take the affair, even if it's their father or their parents or their relatives, to the judge, to the Muslim judge, of course. And as far as the non-Muslim judge, we'll talk about that later. But here we're speaking about the affair that if something takes place serious where a person is being harmed or a person is being what? Oppressed. That they can go to the judge in those specific rights. Al-Huquq al-Khassa. He says similar to that, لو أن والده أبى أن يزوجه وهو فقير وأبوه غني فله يرفعه للحاكم ويطالبه بتزويجه. He said, for example, if the father refuses to what? To now aid his child, his young child, for example. And we know a young child, 15, 14, or 16, or 17, usually they're not financially stable, especially these days. And these are the things that I also want to clarify to a lot of our sisters listening. Because I've heard certain situations that I've even currently has reached me. And I've talked to certain parents, and they say that my concern is the financial situation. Well, the age bracket of 18, he's not going to be financially established. That age bracket that you're looking for to marry a young female off, usually he's still what? Developing. Still trying to find his way, and he's still trying to what? Finalize his situation and organize it. He's not more than likely reaching his financial potential until later. So if you're trying to find someone in that age bracket to be financially stable, Allah knows best, that's going to be what? Very hard. So that's what I'm saying to take in consideration. Notice the example that you find that the great Uthaymin, rahimahullah, that he said about that. He said, for example, let's say his father refuses to let his son marry, and he's poor. His son doesn't have money, faqir. Wa abuhu ghani, and his father's rich. So he wants to now what? Marry to protect his private part, protect his chastity. So he doesn't fall into anything forbidden. They say in this instance he could take it to the qadi. He could take it to the judge. His father's rich. His father's financially what? Stable. And his son wants to protect himself. All right, I'm 16. Dad, what do you want me to do? Well, you get married, I'm not helping you. You understand? We live in days and times, like I even advise our parents to what? Aid these children. Aid them. If you haven't, aid them. If you haven't financially, because a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, usually what? They don't have it. They don't have it. But at any rate, like we said, فَلَهُ يَرْفَعُهُ لِلْحَاكِمِ. In this example, he says, he can raise it to the judge. Demand, of course, that his father allow him. Why? Because this is from the specific rights which has to be done. He said, وَلَوْ أَبَى يُنْفِقَ عَلَيْهِ وَهُوَ فَقِيرٌ وَالْأَبْ غَنِي فَلِلْوَلَدِ يَرْفَعُهُ إِلَى الْحَاكِمِ. Like we just mentioned again. We need to reiterate it. Let's keep going. So that's based upon some of the clarity in the hadith, from the benefits. We extract that in these type of situations, to let one know how perfect Islam is in every aspect, especially these types of family or domestic affairs or family situations. And the female, of course, was oppressed and she was put in a position where she was uncomfortable and not pleased with who she was married off to. Then, like we said, she could take it to the what? Judge. We said last class, everyone, due to the fact, of course, also the origin is that there's no walaya for the kuffar. So based upon that, the first option is to take it to where? The masjid, or those with the proper what? Qualifications, knowing how to handle it, and having the proper knowledge to deal with it. So, either to those marakis Islamiyah, or to those what? Masajid Islamiyah, or Masajid Muslima. Those Muslim Masajid, or like we said, the Islamic centers, for those who are properly qualified and knowing how to handle these situations properly. So that's what we said. So that would be the affair. So in the Muslim lands, the qadi is the judge, or the judge is the Muslim judge handles this matter. So if the woman is oppressed, she goes to the what? The judge. In a non-Muslim society, what does a person do? They take it to the Masjid Muslima or the Marakiz Islamiyah or Marakiz Muslima. The non-Muslim courts, if it's an affair where their person cannot get their huquq, they cannot get their rights through the Muslims. Based upon that, they could go to the non-Muslim courts out of what? Out of darura. Out of what? The extreme circumstance. Yes, they can. Absolutely. Based upon the fact, if they cannot get it through the Muslims, then how are they going to get their rights? And what I mean by that, not in this example here. Not in this one. Not in this example here. Let's just say someone, you made a contract with an individual, they stole some money from you. You tried to go through the Muslims, he still didn't what? Give it to you. You have a clear business contract, business job contract. I'm not talking about this example in marriage here. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about another example outside of this topic. So now you want your what? Your haqq. You want your rights and you want your money back. Here in this instance, of course, you tried to do it through the Muslims. It didn't what? Materialize. So now you're forced in a situation to go where? Go to the non-Muslims to get your rights. From the aspect of what they call binbaz al-darura, to take it to the non-Muslim judge. And like we know, it's better to have those affairs done amongst the Muslims, of course, to do it in a way, of course, without any type of what? The non-Muslims come and then the person will be threatened in regards to their liberties, or a certain type of penalization will come from them where they will put in that difficult position. And it's embarrassing to stand in front of two Muslims, to stand in front of Kafir judges from the most humiliating types of situations. But it's sad due to the fact that there are certain people that's being tested in their iman that they don't want to return their haqq back to their brothers or sisters. So in that instance, they can take it to the what? Non-Muslim judge in order to get their rights. Is it clear, everyone? Min bab al-darura, of course. Min bab al-darura. From the aspect, like we said, of a very difficult situation. So in that aspect, yes. However, in this particular situation, like we said, us as those who are been appointed or responsible for the masajid, we can advise only. We're not vigilantes and we're not the laws of the land. Is it clear, everyone? So when people take the affairs to us, we cannot conduct in the matter where we can now allow a hukum or ruling to go forth where the person is forced to give the what? Money back to the individual. That's not from our affair. Because we're not the what? We're not the authorities of the land. The only thing we can do in the masajid is what? Advise. We sit with the individual, we try to come to a solution, we discuss it and say, fear Allah, give the money back to the individual. Can we now be like the judges where if you don't do it, you're going to be what? Penalized, or your liberties might be what? Taken away from you. Can we do that? No. Is it clear? The only thing we can do is what? Advise. We're not khawarij. We don't lash anyone in the basement of the masjid. Or we do not establish the had, the prescribed punishments in our masajid. We're not from those people. Even though I've heard this in certain masajid doing this, which they have no right to do that at all. Is it clear, everyone? Due to the fact Islam is free from vigilantism. We're not vigilantes. The only thing we can do is what? Advise. Advise the person and say, "Akhi, fear Allah," give the person back their right, or their money, or their wealth, or their haqq, and fear Allah. No, I don't want to give it back. There's nothing else we can do except the individual now has to take it to the what? Non-Muslims to get his rights. Is it clear, everyone? Play. Let's keep going. You had a question? Okay. Play. So that's from what we mentioned in the hadith. However, this narration, same thing. You'll find that the affairs pertaining to the sisters, certain concerns does reach us. And like we said, the only thing that we can do is what? Advise. We advise and say, for example, to the father, that that's not befitting that you marry your daughter off without her what? Without her decision, without her being considered. And that affair is not permissible. Our job and our position is advice. So let's keep going. So you'll find from this hadith, it says, أن نكاح البكر ولو كان من الأب يرجع إليها لا إلى الأب. The nikah of a virgin, even if, of course, it was from the father that married her off, the decision ultimately, of course, no doubt, the father is involved. But the decision has to be attained from where? From the what? From the female. So the father, of course, is involved, no doubt. The father has some type of consideration in the situation. But the affair is what, everyone? Is discussed, it's communicated. Communicated, and that's the issue with a lot of situations, is what, everyone? Communication. Communication in these days and times, it seems like it's very hard for a lot of people. A simple phone call or text or whatever can resolve a lot of problems by just mere communications. And you'll find, like we said, this type of matter, you'll find that the female, of course, did not know. Then she finds out. Now the decision will return back to her. Because, like we said, she cannot be put in a position like this, due to the fact that Islam forbids that. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ, when it reached him, what did he do? Gave her the choice. He said, you want to stay, or do you want to what? Or you want to cancel it out? So that's a clear narration to let you know how just our religion is, and how beautiful of a person the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was, and how just he was. And how he was a just what? Just ruler. He said, do you want to stay, or do you want to what? Or you want to discontinue it? Gave her the option. So, you'll find that they say, وَلَوْ كَانَ الْأَبْ يَمْلِكُ إِجْبَارَهَا لَقَالَ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم إِنَّهُ لَا حَقَّ لَكِ مَعَ أَبِيكِ. If the affair, of course, where the father could force her, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ would have said, what? You have no right for yourself with your father. But he didn't. He said what? You have the choice. You either want to stay, continue, or discontinue. طيب. From this is also what they call جواز تصرف الفضولي. I'm going to explain this. وهو أن يتصرف الإنسان في حق الغير بغير إذنه. فإذا أذن له نفذ التصرف. ووجه ذلك أن النبي صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وبركاته جعل أمر هذا النكاح نكاح الجارية التي أكرهت عن الزواج إليها. فليفهم من هذا أنها إن أجازته نفذ وإن لم تجزه انفسخ. Now from this hadith, everyone, is another affair. What they call جواز تصرف الفضولي. What does that mean? جواز تصرف الفضولي. A person that has, the person that's the second party. Right? Matter of fact, let me give a little bit more detail on this. That another individual, let's just say me and you are a partner. Matter of fact, let me give an example of selling a car. All right, me and you are friends. So I might have heard you say, we're close friends. I know you, and you know me. We have an established relationship, and I know how you are. And you trust me, and I trust you. Like, I say to you, I might just have given, on many occasions, I said to you, I want to sell my car. I'm really trying to sell this car, but I can't sell it. But I never heard from you at all. Or for example, you never heard from me at all to say, I trust you to sell it for me. You understand? You never heard me say that. But you kept hitting, I'm trying to sell this car, but I just can't find a customer. So now you go out. A person walks by the car and says, I want to buy that car. So you're trying to get in touch with your friend, but what? But you're trying to take advantage of the actual moment that this customer wants to buy the car. But you never heard from your friend that he said to you what? I want you to sell it for me, right? But you guys are what? Friends. And he told you, and he gave you little hints here and there. Like, so now you say, yes, I'm selling this car. I'll sell this car to you. Right? So now you did the contract, everything. You went back to your friend who's the owner, the actual owner of the car. He said, what happened to my car? He said, I sold it for you. Right? I sold the car. Here's the money. Here's the contract. Here's everything. Is that sales transaction legit or not?
It's not.
It's not? Why?
Because he didn't get his authorization from his friend.
Look to the hadith of the marriage. Based upon that, this instance...
He wasn't...
No. The message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Based upon that, the owner now has the option. He can either accept it or he can what? He can reject it. You understand? You'll find that al-ilm say, if the person you know that person, they know you. It's not just some random individual. This is someone who you actually what? You know. The the sale transaction is legit. Due to the fact that what? You heard from him that affair. You heard from them, I'm trying to sell this car, can't find a customer. I tried so many times. So you heard. So now the actual customer was someone that you know. And he was what? Busy or whatever. Something might have happened. Let's just say he flew out the country somewhere. So he can't be attained or whatever. It wasn't easy to contact. Or he wasn't easy to contact. So now in that moment, you're trying to what? Capitalize for him. So now in that instance, do we say what? That the marriage contract is invalid? Or excuse me, why did I say marriage contract? Excuse me. Sales transaction. Is it valid or invalid? Here in this hadith, the person can either, of course, have the option now, the owner. He can say, oh, no problem. I'm glad you did that. Alhamdulillah. You understand? Or he can what? Or he can reject it. But the sales transaction in its also is what? It's still legit. So that's the benefit from what they call Jawaz Tasarruf al-Fuduli. The person who's on the side, it's permissible to him to conduct in what? A particular affair, and it still be what? Valid. How does that correlate with this hadith? Based upon the fact that the father is trying to marry off his what? Daughter. So this lets you know from in this particular narration that the marriage contract in its origin was what? It was correct. However, the affair of the person himself or herself, now the affair returns ultimately back to them. They can either what? Accept it or what? Exactly. But the initial marriage contract is still what? Valid. Until the person, the actual person in the marriage contract complains. Now they have the option to either what? Continue the contract or what? Discontinue it. But in its origin, it was still what? Valid. Because if it wasn't valid, the Messenger of Allah would have said directly what? It's rejected. There is no marriage. But he gave her the option that now the affair goes back to what? Goes back to you. You can either continue it or what? Discontinue it. That's what the ulama mentioned about this particular benefit. So you'll find even Shaykh Uthaymeen said up exactly about this. He said that, rahimahullah. He said, أنها إذا إن أجازته نفذ. If she allows it, and she basically what? Legitimizes it or agrees with it, it's carried out, continues. وإن لم تجزه انفسخ. If she doesn't allow it, she doesn't agree with it, now the marriage what? Is annulled. انفسخ. فإذا كان هذا في النكاح ما خطورته ففي غيره من العقود أولى. He said, if this is in marriage contracts or marriage, despite of its danger. Why does he say danger? Meaning, marriage contracts are the affairs that build what? Families in society. That affair is what? Serious. Because this is the matter that, like we said, revolves around it. All the affairs of what? Families. That's the reason why that affair is considered great in its magnitude, right, everyone? Because you're building families in society. Society are all built from this matter, right? That's how you bring people together, and that's how families grow, and that's how civilization in general grows. So that's the reason why he said if these are connected with the affairs of what? Marriage, despite of its danger. Then, other than the affairs of marriage, from the other contracts is for all the more reason. And that's what we said, the example of what? The person that sells his car, and his friend what? Knows about it or heard him say it. And that's what he even mentions this example. He says this. فَعَلَى هَذَا لَوْ أَنَّ شَخْصًا بَاعَ سَيَّارَةَ إِنسَانٍ بلا توكيل لكنه يعرف أن هذا الرجل يرغب أن يبيع سيارته فجاء شخص يطلب سيارة فاغتنم الفرصة فباعها عليه بدون توكيل ثم بعد ذلك أخبر صاحب السيارة فوافق فهل العقد يصح؟ قال يصح. وهل يملكه المشتري من حين العقد أو من حين الإجازة الأول? To the end of the example he just gave. So if a person of course sells the car of another person and he did not authorize or he did not make him the wakil, meaning he entrusted him to do it for him. He didn't do that. He didn't hear it at all. However, he gave little hints here and there. He knows his friend, knows him, that he's interested in selling his car. I heard him say it. He said he can't find a customer. فجاء الشخص يطلب سيارة. So now a person comes. So now he takes advantage of the chance to sell it for his friend without him entrusting him to do it for him. He didn't do authorize what they call tawkil, to entrust him to do it. After that, he informed the owner of the car what happened. Is the initial sale transaction valid or not? We said its origin is what? It's valid. It's valid. You say. وهل يملك المشتري حين العقد? Also the mushtari, same thing. The one who purchased it. Same thing. However, like we said, the exchange, now if the owner of the car, ultimately he can either he can continue it or he can reject it. Same thing. So let's keep going. I don't want to complicate it. Let's keep going. From the benefits of the hadith, and the Sharia al-Islamiyya تأخذ للمظلوم حقه. From the beauty of the religion of Islam, you'll find, based upon those who study this knowledge, to let you know the justice of Islam. And it's not a male chauvinistic religion where, like we said, men coerce women and take advantage of them, and they are forced in situations that they're not pleased with. This hadith clearly rejects that notion. That the woman, of course, has also the decision. If she wants to be in a marriage with a specific man or specific individual in affairs connected with that. And it's not just the female or the young female. It could be the mother, it could be the sister, it could be the daughter, or what have you. The mother, the aunt, all of them. Same thing. That same affair applies to them. The same affair, the same ruling applies also to them. They have the decision if they want to be in that situation or not. So that's what one would now mention from this hadith. It says, أن النبي خير هذه المرأة التي زوجها أبوها وهي كارهة لأن هذا ظلم لها ومن أظلم الظلم أن المرأة تزوج بشخص تكرهه. Wow. The great Imam Ibn Uthaymin said about this. He said, this is considered injustice and oppression to her. He said, from the greatest of oppression is that a woman be married off to a person she detests. He said, لأن هذا الشخص يبقى شريكها في البيت وفي الأولاد. He said, why? Because this person سيبقى شريكها في البيت وفي الأولاد. فكيف يمكن يجبرها على الشخص لا تريده? Why? Because this woman, or his spouse, of course, she will be in the house and also be with the children, tending to those affairs domestically. And so how do you think that you will now force a woman upon an individual she does not like, nor does she want? And what will come as a result of it, like we said, is great harm, وَالْقَلَقَ النَّفْسِ, and also psychological worries. Psychological notes, he said, وَالْقَلَقَ النَّفْسِ. He said also what? Basically trauma and also different types of affairs that will cause disturbance psychologically or mentally. It will damage her. A person does not want to be in a situation in their origin they truly don't want to be in. That's something that will affect them. Affect their faith, affect their iman, affect their affect so many different things. So رُبَّمَا يَصِلُ أَحْيَانًا إِلَى حَدِّ الْجُنُونِ. He said even this affair sometimes can reach the level of insanity. Is it clear, everyone? This is not my words. This is Shaykh Uthaymeen's words. He's using his words. Keep in mind. رُبَّمَا يَصِلُ أَحْيَانًا إِلَى حَدِّ الْجُنُونِ. He reaches the level of Insanity. وبعض النساء تحاول أن تحرق نفسها أو تقتل نفسها من شدة ما وجدت من القهر. Now listen to this. He says certain women will try to what? Harm themselves or burn themselves or kill themselves due to the severity of what they find, or due to the great severity of what they find of their what? Coercion. And that is considered what? Injustice and oppression. And like we said, Islam came to raise injustice or oppression upon the one being oppressed, even if it's the closest of relatives that do that. So وَلَوْ ادَّعَتْ أَنَّهَا مُكْرَهَةٌ بَعْدَ الدُّخُولِ فهذا لا يقبل إلا ببينة. ولو ادعت أنها مكرهة قبل الدخول فقولها يقبل. Now, there's another benefit I wanted to mention before we continue, everyone. Now, let's just say, everyone, let's take this serious. Don't laugh. Let's just say she claims that affair that she was coerced after the marriage was what? Consummated. Is it accepted from her or not? You'll find that they say that the Qadi says it's not accepted unless she has what? Clear evidence. It has to be clear. You understand? It's not accepted. Not acceptable. How is it that you're going to lay with a man that you what? Detest? You understand? Unless it has clear evidence. A person might say, what would be clear evidence? Absolutely. I've heard of certain countries where women are put in positions in order to please their father at first, they would do something. Absolutely. It happens. It happens. I've heard in certain countries, the stories has reached me overseas, in certain countries, where they were lay in bed with a man, of course, that they make the test in order to what? Please her family, or please her father, or what have you. Due to the fact that certain women detest the fact that their family might reject them, or deem them to be a what? Outcast, or what have you. As long as she's able to what? Prove it. As long as she's able to prove it. But if that's not the case, and she plays games, she might be a person that now might be the opposite side of the spectrum where, you know what? Let me get out of this. You understand? Here in that instance, it's not what? It's not acceptable. You understand? In that particular instance. But, like we said, if she has evidence to prove that in a particular situation, well, I laid in the bed even though I didn't like it, but I did not want to displease my family. That happens. Absolutely. I've heard situations like that in certain countries. You know, I'm scared of my father and my family. I come from for example, she might come from a family. Her father has 7 brothers. Huge family. With a bunch of kids. You know, and all of them are what? Close. And she said, I'm scared for the fact that they might what? Disown me. You know, I love my family. So I'll be in this bed with this man even though I don't what? Like it. Then Allah knows best, after the fact, she might what? You know what? I don't care. I need to get out of this situation. I can't do this for 40, 50 years. No way. You understand? Or 20 years of my life, now I got to now, or 20 or 30 years, and she's thinking long term. I don't think I can do this. I tried, I can't. So, like we said, in that particular instance, then what do we want? As long as she has her what? Evidence to prove it, then of course the judge would accept it. But if not, if she does not have any what? Actual evidence in this regard, then it's not what? Accepted. It's not accepted. So, وَلَوْ ادَّعَتْ أَنَّهَا مُكْرَهَةٌ now, قَبْلَ الدُّخُولِ فَقَوْلَهَا يُقْبَلُ now she complains that she was coerced before the what? The consummation. Then here in this example, then what do we want? It's accepted. Meaning the actual complaint, when did that happen? Before what? Before consummation. Before consummation. If that's the case, then what? She goes to the judge listens, and then what? It's accepted. Is it clear, everyone? Like, before we move on, inshallah, is there any questions before we start the next narration, inshallah? Anything?
Oh yeah, my question was, what is if you get married Islamically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got some people that go down to the courthouse and get, all right.
No. Good question. Good question, Khalid. Excellent question. Brothers and sisters, get married Islamically. That is the valid marriage with Allah. That is the most important marriage first. I've heard people, they go down Center City or they go down to the Beladiyah. They go to the municipal buildings down Center City, what have you, and they go through them, and they think that is what an actual marriage contract and a valid marriage, Islamic marriage. No, it has to be what your father or the wali, and its origin and the details that we mentioned about that. The wali, the two upright practicing 5 daily prayer witnesses that are what? Males. And, like we said, the what? The dowry. Proper dowry, proper arrangement with the family. The family sat down, the families know each other. And that's the origin, of course. And the proper way it was done. That is the proper way to have your marriage valid with Allah. Is it clear? Now, if it's something connected with marriage contract that you might need for certain legalities, such as traveling or something to that effect, or a passport or certain affairs you want to now finalize in your private life with certain things pertaining to your wealth, so the kuffar will now take it from you, and your wife might be what? Oppressed. So now, in those certain instances, yes. After the what? After the what? Proper Islamic marriage first. Is it clear? Excellent question, Khalid. Excellent. Because I've heard this before. And we just went to the municipal building. We filled out the contract. That was it. Did you get what happened to the actual Islamic marriage? Oh, we didn't do that. Oh, you're not married. You understand? You're not married. No. It has to be proper Islamic marriage with proper what? Proper conditions. All of them are there. Follow.
I always wondered that, like, since Isa didn't teach them how to get married.
Well, that's the affair of the Christians. A lot of things are strange with them. So, Allah got him. So let's keep going. I didn't. Tafadhal.
Regards to the teenagers that's under 18 getting married, and they live in, one live in their father's house or one live in the mother's house, live with their parents. How does the living arrangement go?
Excellent question. Excellent. You said they're married. Did they married or not married?
Not married, but to get married,
they want to still stay in there with their parents.
Do they stay with their parents, or do they have to?
They can stay with their parents. Let me mention an example online. He said there's two brother and sister. You said they under 18 or they 18?
Under 18.
Under 18. They want to marry. Well, first things first. Because I know that who knows is listening online from the feds. We do not condone marriages that go against the laws of the land. Here, we do not what? We do not say that the people should do that because it will what? Subject you to what? Harm from the non-Muslims. So that's the first thing. Okay? So the thing that we advise, and I will tell you what the great Imam Ahmad Najmi said, rahimahullah. He said, we know in Islam, person can reach the stage of manhood before 18. That's known. And even women. However, if you are an non-Muslim man and that's the law, don't do it. Because it's going to subject you to what everyone? It's going to subject you to harm from the non-Muslims where they'll take away your liberties and you'll go to jail. Is it clear? So don't do it. If that's the case, don't do it. Okay? So now we want to make that and clarify it. As we know, if you go to the non-Muslims and you write, I think there's a way they call it, because I found this out years ago. They said if the parents, what they call the actual, not the power of attorney, but if you go to the courts, they can get married under age of under 18. If they go to the courts and both the parents sign off the agreement to the courts to say, we authorize them to what? Marry, for example, at 17. But I forgot the name of it though. There's a name for it. There's an actual terminology for it.
Isn't it called Romeo and Juliet?
No. This is a certain term. I can't remember. I'll inform everyone later. But emancipation papers. She become emancipated. That's it. Just came to my mind. She become emancipated. But that's a procedure for it. The parents have to agree, and the court has to what? Agree with it. So everyone listening online, that's the proper way to do it. Okay? With the initial law of the land, to what? Abide by it. Or else you'll subject yourself to what? Harm from the non-Muslims, and they can put you in jail. And they'll take away your children. They'll come to your house, and they'll what? Take away the kids. You're in all different types of harm that you what? Subjecting yourself to. Just hold on for 1 second. Is it clear, everyone? Unless you go to the courts and you emancipate yourself. And like you said, that's the proper procedure that you have to do. And, of course, certain brothers who have insight in this matter told me about that. They said, yes, if you emancipate yourself with the proper legalities and the proper procedure, with the parents agree to the end of it, then yes, the courts will what? Legalize it, and they will allow it to what? Be valid. But those procedures take precedence before that, before you marry. Is it clear, everyone? Now, let's just say those procedures were done properly. Okay? So C17, now we'll get back to your question, because I had to say that before we mentioned the actual example. Now, the actual example is, let's just say they're 17. She's 17, or he's 17, or she's 18, let's just say. So, they now have, or they want to get married. Who do they live with? How's their living arrangements, basically, right? Does the sister stay with her parents, or the son stay with his parents, or whatever? The living arrangements go back to what they see fit. If they want to get married, they can still stay with their what? Parents. Absolutely. Yes, they can. Rather, I don't understand why parents kick their children. Khalas, you 6 to 17, time for you to get out. Where's he going to go? Especially in this satanic time we live in. Because we live in a very satanic time. Based upon that, where he's going to go? You're going to put him out with the wolves. Now he has to be fully responsible for what? All the affairs. Everything. And like we just mentioned about a half an hour ago, what do we say, everyone? In that age bracket, usually men are not what? They're not financially stable. They're not. He's still developing. He's still finding his way. And in these days and times, especially in this land, those type of youth do not reach their what? Financial potential till later. You understand, everyone? Based upon that, how will the living arrangements happen? It goes back to their discretion of what is considered conducive for both of them. So in that instance, they could both stay with their what? Parents. There's nothing wrong with that. Because like I said, the man or the young man here, he's not what? He's not fully financially capable of fully taking care of a household. Is he? Usually our youth that we've seen in this community are still what? Trying to find their way. They're still developing. Back in the times of old, men, of course, mentally also matured early. Not these days. It's something totally different now. It's different. You'll find that some of the Sahaba, the Messenger of Allah, there was a Sahabi who was young and he was a businessman. He was a businessman, he was young. And he knew how to what? Trade. And all these different things. And he had good what? Sharp skills in that regard. Not these days. Something totally different. Based upon that, like we said, the living arrangements between the two spouses, they can stay with their parents. Is it clear, everyone? The daughter can stay with their mom and father, and the what? The son can stay with his mother and father, and they can all aid one another. Is it clear, everyone? And like we said, that's a praiseworthy affair, especially if the children want to marry, because just the mere fact that children want to come and say, okay, I want to marry, that in itself is a what? Praiseworthy thing. Because a lot of youth don't want to marry. They're out here doing who knows what. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rectify us and rectify them. However, for a child now to come to say that I want marriage, we have to oblige to help them. In order to what? Attain the reward of protecting their chastity and protecting their private part. Based upon that, in that instance, they live with their parents. And that, like we said, the living arrangements is based upon what is conducive for both of them. Is it clear, everyone? Right, let's keep going. The next hadith, عن الحسن. Why does it say his? That must be خطأ مطبعي. Must be a typo. وعن الحسن عن سمرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أيما امرأة زوجها وليان فهي للأول منهما رواه أحمد والأربعة وحسنه الترمذي. عن الحسن, upon some Murad, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu that he said, any woman that one of the two walis married her off, or excuse me, two walis married her off. Two of her walis married her off. Which one? فَهِيَ لِلْأَوَّلِ مِنْهُمَا. That is for the first from the two. This right here has a lot of details, which will explain next class. So keep you guys excited to look forward to next class, inshallah. So now you'll find also how complete our religion is, to the point where certain instances come up that does happen. Two walis married her off. Sister might find my father married me off, or a brother married me off, my brother, or let's just say she has more than one brother. One of her brothers married off to this one, and then another brother, one of her brothers married off to another one, to another brother. We'll explain it, inshallah. Don't worry, next class. But that's just to let you know that Islam comes with clarity in every situation. And that's to put in perspective how complete the religion of Islam is. In order for one to acknowledge that this affair is what? Wahy, revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He sent down upon the final prophet to all humanity. Is it clear, everyone? So we'll stop here, inshallah. Any questions about the lesson? Follow. Okay.
What if your family's history stops you from getting married? Meaning, when you tell them what your last name is and they know your family's history, they say no because your family says.
That is to the person. If you mean the person that was to marry, then that person has to fear Allah. Can't hold that against you. They can't do that at all. It's not permissible. You can't hold a person's lineage or family lineage against them of what they might have did of certain affairs either before Islam or after Islam, but it was incorrect. You understand? That person cannot hold that against you, saying, I'm from such and such family, or I'm not marrying you. Why? Just because that we have what's worse than that. We come from somewhat. We come from a lot. Some of us come from affairs or backgrounds of disbelief, which is worse. Does that mean now you want to marry me because my family are non-Muslims? And that's worse. Or you marry me because of the fact that you know that me specifically is what? You know me to be upright. It has nothing to do with my non-Muslim family. Based upon that, how much more than a Muslim family that might have not been practicing properly, and to hold that over your what? Over your head is not what? It's not just. Just because you use the individual does not have to do with the what? What the other family partake in. And that goes back to the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةُ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. That one person will not be held accountable for sin due to the what? The other individual. Meaning, Allah will not hold you accountable based upon the fact that someone else might have done some oppression. If that's the case, that's even considered with what? Your families. Your family might be someone coming from a bad background, so you should not be held accountable for what they do. One doesn't have to do with the what? Other. One doesn't have to do with the other at all. Just because my background, my non-Muslim family, doesn't mean that I'm not Muslim. I'm Muslim and I'm practicing. And that has nothing to do with my non-Muslim family. And the Muslim woman that's married you, the females marry you, is married you because of her knowing you specifically are what? An upright practicing Muslim individual. Is it clear? Yeah. I'm sorry. Next question.
Yeah, I got one. What if two people want to get married, right? But the wali don't want to give her away unless you guys a certain amount of dowry or something. What did she say? She don't want nothing but for you to teach her 5 swords or something. But your father,
we talked about this.
Your father won't give her
Khali
away
wasn't here
unless
for
you
the class,
give
but we
her,
did talk about
unless
it.
you give up 10 racks or something ridiculous.
No, we talked about this before previous classes, about the dowries and how they shouldn't be what? so outrageous and so astronomical. However, if it's accordance to the what? To the state of the individual. A person should know who they're marrying. To know that now the situation that this individual who I know is going to marry my daughter off, I'm going to marry my daughter off too, you can tell that he might not, but have that type of financial capability. Know the person you marry and request from what is considered in his what? In his means. There is certain people that do what? Have it. Well, there's certain people out there that what? Don't. And that's the case. Don't oppress the person. Know who your daughter is interested in marrying and work in accordance with that. Don't come with some astronomical diary that's totally outlandish and expensive. You clearly know that he doesn't what? Have it. We already talked about that before. We talked about that. However, there is a hadith where the Masjid Ibn Baaz did make it clear that the best of diaries is what? That's the most facilitated and easy. That's the most blessed of what? Diaries. Not to be so astronomical with these diaries, everyone. Even, but like I said, it's according to the state or the financial state of the person. You understand? But I said to brothers, but you wasn't, like I said, you wasn't here, Khalid, that's not your fault. I did say to the brothers, though, also, when I said, gave advice to them, I said, remember the time where the women did make it easy on us, where they just wanted something simple, and our brothers took advantage of it. So now we're in a situation where it's the opposite. Where now women really want some type of what? Some type of dowry where it shows that you put some effort into it. You understand? Some type of effort. For example, a sister might say, well, I want $500. You understand? So now she's taking a middle course. Like we said, keep in mind, our sisters 20 years ago used to make it easy for us. They used to be like, I want a rose, or I might want what? A couple of books, some jilbabs. The women were making it easy for us to get married here in those times. Now, what happened? What happened? The men took advantage of it. They took it as a joke. Ha ha he he. You want a khulak? Oh, take 10 cents. You want a khulak? Here, take $1. You understand? When the men took advantage of it, now the affair switched. Now it was count the other men. I warned brothers about that. I said, brothers, there's going to come a day when these women are going to stop making the diaries easy on you. It's going to come. Stop thinking marriage is a joke. Now the women want what? Now you hear them. Now I hear the complaints. Man, she wanted $1,000 from me. She wanted $500. And I'm looking at them like, well, $500 is not bad. $1,000 actually is not bad. Comparison to overseas, you would be in a jam. You understand? So now the women are asking, like, okay, you want to get married? All right, $500, for example. And if you really want to get married, go get it. I'll be here waiting. You understand? And so that's the thing that I want everyone to be attentive of. You understand? If you find a sister that makes it easy on you, praise the Lord. If you find a woman that say, okay, I know he's a good brother, he looks responsible, he has potential, all right, $200. Be pleased that she made it easy on you. But also the opposite. To our sisters, I advise them too. Okay, now you're asking for an astronomical dowry. But know for sure, once you ask for that khulak, don't ask for a break now. I want you to want the $10,000 dowry. Okay, you ask the brother for a $10,000 dowry. All right, know for sure, don't ask for a khulak. And then you say, well, have some mercy on me. Nah, I want all my money back. You wanted the khulak? I want my money back.
What's the khulak? The verse?
We'll talk about that later. Khulak, I want the khulak, I want my money back. Well, I don't have. Well, you shouldn't ask for that big astronomical dowry then, if you didn't have it. Is it clear, everyone? That's why we say, everybody, take the middle course. Take the middle course as much as one is able, and look to who you're marrying, or who you know that has the ability for certain affairs. Don't ask for something astronomical. You clearly see he does not what? Doesn't have it. Or ask for astronomical things that don't make sense. A person might say, what are you talking about? For example, you say with a sister, technically you don't know her, she knows you. She wants you to buy her a house, and I want you to what? Buy me a house, and I want to own it. What? You understand? Put me on the ownership. So you taking me as a fool, right? You understand? No man, even financially stable, is doing that. First of all, I don't know you. Is it clear? I don't know you. That takes what? Time and development and relationship and trust. Not just someone who I just had to sit down with a couple of weeks ago in a month and I went out. You understand? Is it clear, everyone? That's another thing that's what? Not sensible. It's not rational to ask someone like that. Or ask them for something like that. Even a man, like you said, that has that potential or has that capability is not doing that. It's not a smart move. Is it clear, everyone? So based upon that, in those sorts of certain situations, I said, look to who you're marrying, look to the affair, judge and work based upon that. Based upon the person's what situation. Is it clear? Can we stop here, inshallah? Sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Subhanaka wa bihamdik. Shalla la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu